All right, my friends. Let's dive into last phase of finishing our pirate scene. Those are renders which I rendered. I mean, I did render more of them, and this is what I told you. Like, if you putting in the path also the project folder and passes, it will give you all different passes in different folders. The advantage of this is you can just bring it to After Effects like this and drag all the passes at once, which is pretty handy. So then I just bring them to 3D, and now I have prepared my main footage and I render. So let's just have a look. This is what we should roughly have. I mean, I turn on the motion blur. We have our pirate. I mean, of course, like if you want to play with it, like this wood doesn't look super realistic, you could play with that, or if you don't want to traveling. But other than that, um, it looks quite good. I turned on the motion blur. There's some piece of wood flying towards the camera, and we have our robots coming in. So here you can see everything quite well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but you should be still able to read what's going on here. So I'm quite happy with it, how it works right now. This is good base. And the robots will be flickering on the light, but otherwise, yeah, it looks good to me. So let's dive in. So first, what I'm gonna do, I'll just create the composition. Let me delete this one. So then we have a new comp. I can bring it to comp. We can call it pirate scene. Um, Bring it in, and we will have a few different objects here. So first of all, we want our pirate. So if you can notice see when I put it in, it fits really well. There is just some light shadow issues. So I can go over here, bring the levels. I can go to alpha channel and just a little bit crop it. So you can see like I'm fixing it now. So I don't know if you see it, but basically this is really the small thing. It's not no big deal. You could actually, let me see if I can even, now we don't want to make the alpha too bright, but we can adjust here the density of the alpha, basically the strength of the shadow, but I'm quite happy as we have it right now. So now let's make it nicer. I mean, to be honest, I think it's still quite dark. I maybe should add one more light, like ambient light, but let's just go with it. What we can do, I can go to RGB, and this is quite high contrast. Like what you should do, you should kind of like match some of the darknesses. I mean, this is really dark. This is one of the most dark part of the screen, and this is also almost black. It's more red a little bit than we got, and this is like darker. So what I would do, I would just make it a little bit brighter, the overall scene, even more. Like I'm just adjusting the levels. So our entire scene is got a little bit more matched to it. And then let's have a look on the blue. If I will start reducing the blue and maybe adding more red. You should start getting like more blending in, basically. This is kind of like more based on the feeling. Oh, what did I change? Oh, yeah. Red. Okay. And I'm just trying to more match it together. I mean, the yellow should ideally match as well. We will also see like the background has a little bit lower resolution, or like it's a little bit more pixelated. If you would be doing this for movies, usually even matching the grain on the footage to blend it more together. But right now, we you don't have to be super precise. It just slightly more match. It's like brighter, and now let's bring some colors in. Just adjust this. The background is a little bit boring, so let me just go to hue and saturation. Just make it more colorful. It will just more pop. All the buildings, everything. I don't think we need to change the color, but we can even have a look. We're gonna do some small tone shifting, but I'll just go with small, even saturation. It will kind of adds to this like comic style. You can check it out if I will add hue also on the main footage, which it is pretty colorful. I don't think we need tons of there. Then if you look on the frame, let's choose what's gonna be our establishing frame. Okay, this is already kind of bright and later on. And also we can see there's not much glow coming from the gun. So what I can have a look, if I will go to pirate scene and go to interpret footage main, then we can switch the different type of noises, alpha interpretation. If I will switch to pre-multiply, it should give me a little bit more glow on the scene. And okay, you can see there's actually big differences. Depends on how much I will crunch the alpha. If I will not crunch it, I will be getting a lot of light spill from the actually gun. But if you like crunch it a little bit, it got reduced, and then we can see if it works better as a straight. Actually, in our case, I think it works better with a straight alpha. So let's just keep it straight. And then we will be falling down, and this is our final frame. So let's just maybe adjust it on this frame. What we want to do, we want to bring the focus here. And right now, the eye, because all the trajectory and the street, like ending here, like it's basically going the perspective here. And there's a lot of stuff. There's the cars, there's the buildings, so it's bringing a lot of focus point, even if you want or not. So let's first get rid of that. So I will make new adjustment layer. I will call this dove. And then I will bring one of the paths, like depth paths, which basically is just the value of, or that's the depth. When I got this, there's a few different ways how we can do that. What I like to use, and if you don't have it, it's okay. We can try different ways. It's Frisch Luft plugin. So you would use depth of field, then you would just click anywhere. It would just set the depth channel, and you would take the depth channel we just brought it in. So the layer number 4, the depth, and then you would just click the select depth. You might click on the ship, and you might increase the radius of the blurriness, and you might add like 20 or 50. So now you can see like this is everything sharp, but here in the background, here everything getting blurry. It works really well, and then it basically stayed that way. So even now, like when we are getting further, all this is sharp, but then all the things in the back is really blurry, and it really helps you to kind of bring the attention. I mean, if you don't have the Frisch Luft plugin, then you might go with a camera lens blur. I believe it's in normal blurs. So if you would go and blur, and there's a camera lens blur, and this should have a similar option. So we can go here, we can select the depth channel, and then we can adjust the depth. And as you can see, it works pretty similar. The only difference is you need to kind of play with the focal distance here. And as you can see, when I'm traveling through, I'm choosing where is gonna be my sharpness. I think this is really legit way as well, but I'm just used to this Frisch Luft, where you can like choose even what is your sharp zone. So here you can see like if you click here, this is gonna be what is gonna be your sharp zone. Or when we are on the ship, this is basically like coming around here, which is perfect because it's the same distance where we have our cannon. And then you can like see like different options, which you can also play with the depth channel if you would need to. You might like adjust this with levels or so on. It might be like seeing more crunch or stuff. But basically, if you're getting this kind of like smooth gradient, it doesn't have to be from white to black. As you can see, we have from light gray to dark gray. It still gives us the full spectrum of the distance. So when I will just turn it on, we have this like lovely depth there. The next thing what I would do, again, like this is just like show you what could roughly what you could do. Like if you would use looks maybe, then you might take the scene and you might do just a quick exploration. Like you might go through it and it might help you to merge things together when you're using some color combination for the footage in the background and foreground. Because what you have to do normally when you're working on movies, you need to color match it so the blacks are same, the highlights are same. The highlights are sometimes like different color, like they are more cold or more hot. So you basically starting with matching white and matching black, and then the color palette on the scene. But you can also just use some like kind of sharp or not sharp, like kind of more drastic um, combination, which for example, this case, the day trip, what I like about this is like make everything brighter. You can even like click on it and then you can just like adjust the intensity. So if you would go something like that, it is start kind of like matching together and it just like all seem a bit warmer. Maybe you can even reduce saturation on the background. But let me just quickly go through different options. Let's have a look if we have something which really track our eyes. I don't think this is quite fun. The spot focus, it just make everything softer and even more color, uh, even more saturated. So you can see roughly what's going on. It's just basically adding the softness, adding the saturation, and bringing even more softness in the background. And then if you have effect like this, you can even like dissect it, like what's going on, what I'm adding on. So if you would go with this kind of effect, you can see that there is some like S curve. So it's just basically bringing the brightness. Then we have like really strong saturation, like the yellows and stuff. You can see there's like a lot of changes happening, which might be hard to do with the standard color correction. Then we have like big softness, which is maybe exaggerated, but it works quite nice. Then we like crunching, the making vignette on the sides. Diffusion, that's kind of adding the softness is basically one more channel blurred out, and it makes nice light spills. I think we definitely want some kind of diffusion. And then there was one more scene which the color grading I liked. Which one was it? I think it was a day trip. So we can even look on that one. What yeah, the day trip. What was using this one? So this is how you can use when you're working with looks, how you can like optimize it. So you can see this is like really like making everything more flat, like just brightening things. And then on top of that, we're just using the F curve to like more make shadows together. You can see the curve going down. Then we are using the colorist, which is pretty drastic. Let's see what's happening over here. We increasing the midtones a lot, so we could even do it with curves. And that's about it. Then we're just making the highlights a little bit here, but you can see the one of the main thing here is just like really crunching the midtones, making them yellow. And here, this is the brightness of the midtones. So that's really dramatic here. Then the color grading doesn't do that much. Lens vignette, so vignette again. And then we have some star filter. So those are the few things which we can use if you are using some of those not build like plugins, but we can also make it on our own. So I'll just make the adjustment layer, can make curves, and then I will just bring the curve. So one of those things that was doing was just making everything a bit more brighter. So the gamma was brighter. And then what we like vignette. So just create this one as well. All good levels. I'll just reverse it, make it like way softer. Maybe not so much. You want to make it darker, but not like unnecessary crunched. So let's just bring the darker down. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it the reverse. Okay. Okay, so this is just like subtle vignette. Could probably do it even more. Reduce the white. Then we have our curves, which making everything a little bit brighter. Then I would add, as we are adding this kind of like soft spill, what we can use for it, we could use either S-Glow from Sapphire. That brings us this kind of like softness, but we need to really like be gentle with it, so not so overdo it. Maybe make even small glow. It make us a little bit softer the edges. Maybe reduce this vignette on the side. Can be maybe even less sharp. Okay. And then I'm just playing it here to get something. Sometimes what I'm doing, or what's actually works in colorist, not colorist, yeah, in the looks, that's just like colors shift. So if you would have some sort of color, you can just always try just one color bring to different tone. You can make, for example, everything a bit warmer here. Then we have this like green cyan, which you might even reduce the contrast or just shift individual color. When you're working with the stylized scenes, it's kind of fun that you can like easier this way to select and dissect the colors and control them separately. But in our case, I think the colors works quite well, so I don't actually need to do any kind of like big changes. This is our softness. We got S-Glow. Again, you can even like do the pre-comp everything and make everything softer. You would have this pirate scene. You can have it twice, and then the other one would be basically and do just camera lens blur. Make it less prominent. And even now, when I start doing this, it's basically doing the similar thing we are doing with looks. You can see if I turn it on, and maybe I will make it like less radius. Let's play with it. Yeah. If I will turn it off and on, it gives me like bit softness. Like it's not so, because the 3D usually is pretty sharp. So by doing this, you just like make all the scenes slightly more dreamy. It's not like too prominent, but also you can start feeling like it's too soft. So it depends how much you want to go for it. Then what I'm doing here, I'm just switching the different modes. For example, luminosity, when I have luminosity, it does actually exactly what I need. I don't know if you see it. It's just like really subtle things, but I'm just coming here for some adjustments, and I think that was working the best. The light and doing the same thing. So as you can see, when I exaggerate it, I will just lose everything and it's too blurry. So we just want to really, really subtle thing. Okay, I like this. But now let's back to this is what I use like a secondary layer. But I will come back to this original one. We have our curve. Sometimes I wasn't even doing with the red, putting it a little bit down and up. With the green, you can put down and up. And then with the blue, you can just lift and stay a little bit. This is kind of like old way of doing the, I think they were calling cross processing. So it just everything get a little bit more highlighted. But I don't know how much we needed here. Because what it's doing, it's making a little bit everything more contrast and adding more color contrast. But I think it helped us sort of uh, to get a bit more interesting look. It's really subtle, but it's just like more contrasty, bringing some colors in. Then we have our vignette, which also like help us to um, separate this. Let me see if I can even reduce the outside area. I think we don't want to crunch it too dark. That's how you used to do a lot of things. It's really kind of dark, but I think it's not so popular anymore. If you have a mask, you can just hit double M. It will show you the mask expansion. So I can just move it a little bit further. So it will kind of open this spot. But you can also play with the mask, like see where we want to have our center focus. We have a glow, the S glow. I might reduce it a little bit. So don't be too strong. Here we controlling the width of it. And let me have a look what else we got here. This is roughly that. Then we can go over here later on where we get the lasers shoot. And now as we are doing the color corrections, the laser getting kind of pinkish. So let's see what we got here. I rendered a bunch of different passes. I did render the lasers. The shadows, I don't think we need the shadows. The shape, I was feeling that it might be useful. Let me just bring this. I can use it in a second. And then let me bring lasers. So let's see if we can use some good use of them. So, all right, so we're getting the lasers right now here. So I can come here, bring this one as well, give them additive, and maybe give them glow. Okay, can switch to AB color. Let's see if we can like give them some red laser beam. I will actually do it differently. Let me just bring them here like this, reduce this, and then I can use tint. Instead of the white, I will use the red. Then I will use levels, kind of crunch them to make them kind of more prominent. And then I will bring the blur. We can use the camera lens blur. I think it's kind of like the new pop, not new, but the most used blur. I'll repeat the edges, so I don't want to get these kind of like weird overlaps. And then I can just have it as additive. So now I'm just like adding this like laser beam. Now you can see that we can even like make it more blurry. Maybe put 100. Make like really strong. Uh, Still doesn't look blur enough for me. It's still kind of like sharp blur. So I will play with it a little bit. To kind of make it a bit softer. And I don't know if it's me or the camera lens blur working in a weird way. We still have the other blur. Vote as blur. Yeah, this actually works a bit better in this way. So I'll just adjust the brightness of it. Then tint, if you're gonna use more whitish, it will be stronger, the laser. And then maybe I can add one more laser with no effects. Just delete all of those. Screen, just see. Actually like when it's really intense on the front. So I might keep this one off. The question is they're really blurry at the end, and I'm wondering if you put under the dove. No, let's keep it on top. I think it works better this way. And yeah, actually I like the laser like this. You can just like it's a bit highlighted, and we don't need to see this grayed out area. And let's go a little bit further in our animation, and here you can see like all the pieces on the ground. Like now when I see them, I'm a little bit sad I didn't render the dirt map on them. Like definitely those edges would use some kind of like worn out details or even break the edges. They look kind of low poly here, but you can play with it. I mean, depends what you will be building for the scenes, but I would definitely add them like some dirt map, a curvature, basically curvature. I'm pronouncing it wrong, to get some more details. But I can bring the new adjustment layer, put it underneath the shape, use the Luma mat, and let's see at least if we can just play with them a little bit. Okay, so we have our pieces here, and I will probably turn off the depth of field now, so it should be calculating a little bit faster. Yeah, so the pieces are quite dark, so we can play with the adjustment layer and make them a little bit brighter. Can also play with hue and saturation to just blend in. But we go a little bit for stylized looks, so I wouldn't like overcomplicate it here. Yeah, we don't want the pieces like too much stand out. Okay, we bring the depth of field in, go even bigger, 40. So you're getting more and more layers. Everything start looking like processing a bit slower. That's fine. Um, oh, okay, not so slower. I put 420. Why this number? Okay, 400. Let's me now have a look. So if I will turn effects on and off, you can see we definitely bring some attention to this guy, but what I don't like about him, he is really dark though. I would probably add him more light. I don't know if I can change it now in the post. I'm already trying to make him brighter. Let me try even more. Oh, this is, I'm adjusting the alpha. Okay, I need to. Okay. So I'm just trying to make this guy a little bit brighter. Yeah, the curves brings a little bit darkness back. Vignette works well. It's more glow on him. The color shift we didn't really need at the end. I can delete this one. Then we have our ship hue saturation, which again is really, I probably don't need it as well. I'm just showing you different ways how you can like work with your 3D when you comping it together. And now we're getting the laser, which is a little bit pinkish. I think the curves node change it. Yeah, but I don't mind it. And let's just see how it works when we render everything together. So let me just render it and I will see what we got here. Then we have like all those robots, and the question is if you will notice them as a spectator, but I think you could see all those details. And now with this sharpness, you can see the stairs, everything start getting blurry. That's why I was preparing those like mats, not mats, like this rough geo in the background to help us with a bit highlight it or like work with those with the depth channel in the real world. So I'll just go here. This is a pirate scene, and just call it H08 pirate 15. Oh, okay, one more time. Okay, H08 pirate scene can be. And we will add just a little bit more bitrate. I mean, in default, After Effects trying to save you file and trying to make as small files as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. But then if you want to put a little bit more quality, I recommend to increase this number a little bit. So let me check it out and I'll just render the preview. Okay guys, so here we can see the final render. As you can see, everything kind of working together. I hope this was somewhat useful here. Here you can see second example. I was using exactly the same technique. It's just a slightly different animation, and I was using the X particles to making the smoke. I was thinking to teach you that, but it's like unnecessary diving deeper into X particles, and I'm not sure if you want to use that. But here you can see our laser robot. Maybe the colors are a little bit still more too vibrant, the cyan and the laser. Here the other shape is more fixed in terms of the texture of the balloon. Maybe work better. I don't know. As I said, I'm just showing you different approaches. It's up to you what you will take from it. I kind of find it's kind of like funny, like bubbling as it's flying through. There's something which is slightly bugging me here. Maybe it's because the laser is getting too pink or too much luminescence here. This frames in general is blurry because we have the blur in the background, we have motion blur here, it's slight motion blur here, as it's like, if you stop on this frame, I don't really like it. So that's also one of the things we can be testing things out. Like we can be stopping them on individual frames. Like if you stop on this frame, you might say it's kind of too busy. Like maybe we fold parts and be more in the background. So there'll be a kind of more space around him to read easily. That's what I would say as well. As I said, this is more showing the technique. In this one, it's slightly different. Here you can see really clearly what's going on here. And the panda coming in time, changing the red is basically the same thing with the laser, just kind of like switching the color to red. Then having some recoil, bouncing back, the same effect. And then you can see there's a bunch of pandas which are going to cook him for dinner. So it is slightly different scene, but basically it's the same. So it's up to you. You can like use whatever you want. I will just try to show you kind of fun way how to work with the real environment and blend them together. So I hope it was useful. I would like you to see, to take either one of those scenes or record your scene, because that's what I was trying to show you as well. This is just on iPhone. You can just go somewhere, record something where it could be possible, additionally use a door or some entrance, and then you can just have some object flying in or something coming out of it, or doesn't have to be even like the battleship or anything. It can be, it can be some like huge worm coming out of the geometry and going around and dropping some shadow on the walls. I would recommend you to choose some simple geometry. Like this is really just one huge plane here, one plane here. We added some more details with the stairs. So that's of course slightly complicating it. The simpler geometry it is, or like more flat it is, way easier it's gonna be for you to do any kind of comping. If there will be some additional curves here or plans, it might break some shadows or intersections. So if you want to save yourself some headaches, I would just go with as simple geometry as possible, or open a background. And yeah, you don't have to have so many characters. I was just trying to show you how you can bring the scene to life, but I would like to see some kind of like interaction with the real environment. And maybe you can find even some like more fitting joke, like it can be something which is really connected to the real environment. So looking forward to see what you're coming up with. I hope you find this technique interesting. I don't see it so often, but I think it is basically, I was playing with this before AR came, and it's more advanced because most of the AR can do like stuff like this, like can really track things in the real world. So they are still a step ahead. So thank you a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it was a bit complicated, but that's what I want to teach you. Okay, bye.